Hello everyone, I'm Nola and I'd love to welcome you back to my channel if you've been here before. If this is your first time, I'd love to welcome you and I hope you'll stay a while. I wanted to talk about something that feels especially important at this time of the year. December puts enormous pressure on people, emotional pressure, financial pressure, as well as social pressure. To give, to show up, to perform love, and very often that pressure comes at a real cost. And I'm not just speaking financially. However, many people go into debt, people are exhausted, and people abandon our own needs just to keep the peace or meet expectations. I'd say that's a lot of pressure, wouldn't you? And I want to talk about what happens when you begin to question that. I've had to reconstruct who I am literally from the ground up. And that's not a poetic statement, it's a very painful one. Layer by layer, I've been peeling myself back and asking very hard questions, such as, if I don't perform, if I don't give, if I don't remember, organize, host, or smooth things over, do I still have value to the people in my life? And what I discovered was confronting, not for everyone, but for many people. My value was tied to what I provided. And I discovered when I stopped performing, when I stopped overgiving, when I stopped carrying the emotional and practical load, many relationships went quiet. It wasn't because I became cold. It was because I stopped compensating. I want to say this very carefully. I honestly don't think that people are malicious. But I do think that many relationships are built around roles, not mutual presence. And when one person stops playing the role of the giver, the rememberer, the organizer, the host, the system breaks. That's when you learn something really important. You weren't being met. You were being relied upon. Hosting, for instance, and here's the ordinary example that almost anyone can recognize. Because this is where people recognize themselves immediately. You may recognize yourself here immediately. Hosting. If you're the one who always hosts, hosting isn't just about inviting people over. It's planning, it's cooking, it's timing, it's managing heat, managing plates, managing conversation, and managing everyone's comfort. Often while still smiling. And then people arrive, sometimes late, often carrying flowers, which sounds lovely, and I don't want to sound ungrateful. But what actually happens is this. You're expected to stop what you're doing while the food is on the stove or in the oven to find a vase, to trim stems, to fill water, to clear a surface, and fuss over the flowers, while everything else is bubbling and steaming away. And if you've ever made a sauce, you know this isn't theoretical. Things actually burn. I want to say this loud because it took me years to admit it. That builds resentment. Not because flowers are unkind or there's anything wrong with getting a gift of flowers, but because the gift creates more work for the person who is already carrying everything. A gift that requires immediate labor from the host isn't actually a gift. You may be saying. But that's what I discovered a long time ago. It's a transfer of obligation to me. The unspoken payment dynamic. And I'm going to say something that may feel very uncomfortable, but it's honest. Sometimes the flowers also function as a kind of unspoken payment. They arrive, everyone gushes over them, attention shifts, and meanwhile, the host is scrambling, juggling heat and timing and responsibility. The flowers become the moment. The labor disappears. That doesn't make anyone bad, but it doesn't make the exchange uneven. Excuse me, but it does make the exchange uneven, is what I mean to say. It does make the exchange uneven. A true gift supports the moment. It doesn't hijack it. And this is how I changed my own behavior. That's why I stopped bringing flowers unless they're already arranged. I actually seek out vases in thrift stores. I keep jars that I know can hold flowers. And if I bring flowers, they're already in a container, arranged, finished, so my hosts are not scrambling. No, often you find yourself looking for a bucket or something to put these flowers in, and you're like, oh, these are beautiful, beautiful, and you're feeling the pressure because of everything that's in the oven or on the stove. And often, personally, I don't bring flowers at all. If I'm invited to dinner, I'll bring something that cares for the host. Beautiful dish towels in a nice gift bag, good hand soap, jams or jellies that they can open after the fact. Something thoughtful that doesn't interrupt the flow of the evening or the event or whatever it is that you are attending or you've been invited to. The point of a gift isn't the object, it's the care. Then I want to connect this back to worth and performance. When you're always the one who hosts, always the one who gives, always the one who absorbs inconvenience, people don't always realize how much you're doing. And eventually, you start to realize it yourself. Isn't that the truth, right? If you are used to hosting, you understand what it takes. A lot of what we call generosity is actually expectation. A lot of what we call kindness is invisible labor. When you stop doing that labor, some people feel uncomfortable, not because they miss you, but because the service has stopped. And that realization really hurts, but it also clarifies. December, money, the cost of performing, this time of year that magnifies all of this. Many of us are buying gifts we can't afford. And come April or May, we are still paying off stuff that we purchased in December and still feeling guilty for not giving enough. Therefore, we equate love with spending. Beloved, I want to say this clearly. If love requires debt, exhaustion, or self-abandonment, something has truly gone wrong. Choosing not to perform does not mean you don't love. It means you're no longer willing to disappear. And here is the reframe that saved me. You're not losing your value. I didn't lose my value. I lost a role, and you will probably lose that role. The one that's always congratulating and hosting and motivating and being happy for others when they have successes, when their children have successes, when their grandchildren are born. But when you experience anything like that, it becomes dead silence. But that's a topic for another day. I digress. You know, I was talking about not losing one's value and losing a role. Roles can be replaced. Beloved, your essence cannot. And that's the important thing. Yes, there may be fewer people, but the relationships that remain will be truer. Those will be the true relationships. Quiet. When you go quiet, it isn't punishment. When people go quiet, oftentimes we have to ask ourselves, why have they gone quiet? And many will say, oh, what did I do? And I would like to say to that, you didn't do anything. You know, it's often protection for you and I who feel overused, overexposed, taken advantage of, taken for granted. It's simply protection. So if you know you didn't say or do anything wrong, there's nothing for you to worry about. Maybe you should pick up the phone or send a message to the person and say, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you okay? Particularly if you are the one that's always reaching out first with the good mornings, the happy birthdays, the Merry Christmas, congratulations. If you're the one that's always performing those tasks, who's always having people over, but you never really get asked over to attend functions at their homes, it might be time for you to re-question or to reevaluate what it is that you truly mean to people. And if you're watching this and something in your body just exhaled, I want you to hear this. You do not have to perform to be worthy of love. Yes, it's true. You do not have to perform to be worthy of love. You never did. And if you're choosing quieter holidays, simpler gestures, few expectations, that doesn't mean you've become cold. It means you're becoming honest. Thank you for being here today. And please remember before I go that kindness is truly important. Be kind to yourself, the same kind of kindness and consideration that you show to everyone else. Show that to yourself. Those screaming voices in your head that are always telling you everything that you do wrong, can you be kinder? And please be kind to those you meet along the way, because everyone is dealing with something we know nothing about. Until the next time, beloved, take care and bye for now.